A big welcome back to you, Tyson Sharp here. And if you're ready to find out where the leaks may be in your money mindset, this is the exact conversation you need to listen to. So let's dive in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I've just been talking to Chella, and we're both just shared we're more than excited about this chat. Everyone knows I'm all about money mindset. I'm all about doing the inner work so that we can not only manifest what we want externally, but truly live the kind of lives that we want. And I think this is what's more than important in these days, when the external chaos seems like it's just expanding, but our internal worlds are ever evolving. And I think the conversation around money mindset, our relationship with money, and how we can truly start to unpack it, not only so we can understand it within ourselves, but so we can apply it in our life and in our businesses, that is more than exciting to me. So I knew Chella was going to be an awesome guest. I knew as soon as we met in the serving circle and we were connected by other people, that I just thought, you know what, we have to dive in deep, and it's about time that it's happened. And so I want to welcome you, Chella. How are you going?
I'm so delighted to be here. This is definitely one of my favorite topics, so I'm always open to talking about it.
Yeah, and we're always open to listening. We're always open to listening, because everyone that's here, if they're listening to this podcast, they hear like, okay, I know my relationship with money is key. Because if I'm in business, I'm selling. If I'm in business, I'm promoting myself. I'm making the transaction. And my relationship with that is going to determine not only my success, but also the success of my clients, because obviously selling is helping. And so anytime we can heal the relationship we have, it's so important. And so I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to diving in deep. But for a moment, how about you just explain who you are, how you got into all of this?
My name is Chella, and I have been good with money since I was 9 years old. Right? Money is just something that made sense to me. And bought my first car when I was 17, my first house when I was 23. And I know it's going to sound silly, but I really did not realize that other people thought about money differently until I got married, or I started a relationship with my former husband. Because he had totally different views. It's not about male versus female, but that's when it really hit home for me. Other people view money differently.
Totally.
And so that's when I started thinking, oh heavens. So, that was truly an eye opener for me.
What do you think it was? What do you think it was that either you experienced, or that you were just born with, or what the belief systems you had? What do you think was it about you that had that difference and separated you from what most would describe as the majority of the Western world?
That's really a great question, because to me, the way I saw money is it's a tool, right? And so when I was 9 years old, I used to go to the farmer's market, and I used to purchase fruits and vegetables. I knew exactly how much money to get out of the jar, and I knew how much. It was 9. I can't imagine that I really knew. It's just instinctive, right? My intuition just went in with it. So it was just made sense to me. If you want to buy a car, if you want to buy a computer, if you want to buy a house, you set yourself and you put a spending plan into action, and you get it. I mean, you know what I mean? For me, it was like 1, 2, 3. It was very easy to make that happen.
And it's just systematic. It's just math. It's just math and numbers.
Yeah. It's just numbers, right? You want something, then you just figure out how you're going to get that.
And what was the moment when you realized that not everyone has just this systematic number approach to money?
And that's when I really, truly, my journey began. I became really interested as to how other people grew up. And I'm not going to name names, but for instance, for me, I never felt that I was lacking anything. I'm not saying that I had everything as a child, but I never felt the lack of. Where I believe that other people, when you feel the lack of, like whether it was you didn't get the party you wanted, your parents were always talking about they didn't have enough, or you have to work hard, whatever the conversation was, is that conversation that we carry with us.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, the conversation we carry with us can often go unconscious, But what I love is the fact you were able to not only recognize people have different stories, but have the interest to say, what is people's relationship with money? Where did it come from? What was their upbringing? All those different things. In terms of what was it that you found? Because you didn't have lack. And I know where we can look at this and we truly know the feeling of lack has nothing to do with how much you have, right? It has nothing to do with how much you have. It's an internal pattern, we could say. What was it that you noticed in other people? Did they have lack? Did they have self-esteem issues? Did they have, what patterns did they have?
And I didn't feel that I had lack, but I did grow up with my dad, because my dad was the breadwinner and my mom was the housewife. So my dad did passed on the belief that you have to work hard. So I did have that. So I did have to work through that. But what I found in other people is that when they grew up with lack, where they felt they were missing something, whatever that may have been, right? When they grew up with that, as an adult, they spent a great deal of time wanting to fix that unconsciously. They don't say, I'm going to go fix it, right? But that's where, especially my healers, that's when they don't charge their value. That's when they also go and they want to spend all the money because they want to go back and fix something from childhood. And that's where the magic happens, because when you're able to identify what the money conversation, and that is definitely a $10,000 tip here. When you identified what the money conversation you heard, and you're able to connect the dots to how that conversation has impacted your current financial picture.
So what you're saying is just being aware of that conversation, just knowing that conversation was there, that it influenced you in some way in and of itself can create enough awareness where that pattern no longer has a hold on you. Is that what you're saying? Absolutely.
Because once you become aware of it, then you can make other choices, right? Once you become aware, you know what, I go out and spend all this money without, realizing, like a young man that goes out and spends $40 in having a smoothie delivered to his office at work. That makes no sense whatsoever, right? And logically, why would you pay $40 3 times a week to have a smoothie delivered, right? It makes no sense. But when we started working together, we identified that was when other kids were making fun of him when he was younger, right? So other kids made fun of him and they made him believe that he didn't have enough money, that he didn't belong in this particular crowd, right? So it doesn't always make sense. It's not like what the conversation really is reflected. But once you begin to dig, and we can all do this, right? There's so many different things, whether you go to a healer, hypnotherapist, right? Talk it out. But once you're able to identify that money conversation and connecting the dots is crucial. I find that sometimes even just becoming aware and then choosing to do something differently, right? It's a mindset thing. Awareness and then wanting to shift.
Well, what do you think it was about your past, your journey that really pulled you to help people, especially women, in this way? Because some people can just grow up and think, oh man, I have this relationship with money. Other people have this relationship with money and it's different. But there must have been something that pulled you, there was a calling for you, or it was part of your dharma. What do you think it was that attracted you to help people in this area?
It was really, and that was definitely, and it's been a work in progress, because for the longest time, I wanted to be the best kept secret. And thanks to you and to other people, right? But for me, it was about showing others that it could be done easy, right? That you don't have to struggle, that you don't have to make it hard, that it is possible for you to make a living doing something that you love and have the money to match.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's looking around the world, especially in the Western world, it is so clear that our relationship with money and the systems we have in place is no longer serving us. It may have served us in the past. It's no longer serving us, and it's no longer in our best interest. So it's amazing for people like you to just step out and say that there's a different way, and I'm going to show you how. But that's my next question. Well, if someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, if the key is to just simply gain awareness by going back and noticing where is those conversations that I heard that shifted my perspective, is there any process you would walk someone through, or any steps they could go in terms of how to find that conversation?
Yeah, because you'll remember. Just go back to when you were a kid, and what were the conversations you remember hearing parents talk about? Or it's not even parents, it's adults. What were the adults talking about, right? Were they saying it's not enough? We don't have this. We can't afford this. You have to work hard. Money does not grow on trees. Whatever that conversation was that you heard, and really tune into the emotions. What feelings with that child? What did they leave with? Right? Because hearing and what did they leave with, those are two different things. But that's the beginning. Because when you're able to identify that, that brings awareness. And
Gotcha.
know that some of those beliefs are not even yours.
Awesome. Yeah. What they left with in terms of their emotions, in terms of the meaning, in terms of the story, what else could they leave that conversation with?
Well, and you just said it. It's the meaning that you gave it, because the adults were saying we don't have enough or we can't afford it. That was their baggage. That was their input. That had nothing to do with that little child, right? So that's what I'm talking about. We borrow those beliefs. So now it's time to give them back.
Put them back. Give them back to the parents.
Give them back. And one of the best ways that I have found to give them back is by doing a journal. I do a letter to that situation, to that event, constantly doing letters, right? Just allowing yourself and giving yourself permission of letting it go. I write the letters, and I normally burn the letters.
Okay. So you write the letter explaining that circumstance, what they heard, what the meaning you gave it, the story you left with, the feelings you had, everything like that. Is that what you put in the letter?
Yes, that's magic right there, folks. Take everything that Tyson just said. You put all of that in there, and you just appreciate the lesson. And then I now hear release and send this back, right? It's about because our monkey chatter is very busy, right? We have all this things and all this stuff going through our head. So just give it back, put it down, identify it. Now that you're aware of it, write it out, and then burn the letter. That is it. You'll see it's magic. Now, it's going to take several letters, right? Because there were several incidents. It was not just a one time. This is, you can't go to the gym and get a 6-pack in one day. You can't even do it in 1 week. It is a process, but at least begin to know that, right? Begin the process.
Yeah. And like I said, when you burn it, I'm assuming everyone's going to burn it in a safe way. Let's put that out there. We're not going to be responsible for anyone burning their house down. So burn it in a safe way. But yeah, what you're saying is you'll definitely feel a release with each one, right? With each letter, with each burning of the letter, you'll feel some sort of release, some sort of detachment, some sort of freedom. So although it is a progress, although it's a process of going to where you want to go, there each one is a step along the way, right?
Absolutely. We're taking the layers, right? You're just taking those steps. You're climbing up a ladder, right? You were down. There was a lot of, let's face it, a lot of mud. And so you're just climbing up the steps. You're climbing up the ladder. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take a couple of steps. But before you know it, you're going to be taking the elevator. Instead of the stairs, you're going to be taking the elevator.
Awesome. I like the sound of that. I definitely like the sound of that. And so if I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, okay, I've got a money story. It was generally from a conversation I heard with my parents. I can go back. I can dive in deep in terms of what I made it mean. I can go to the stories that I left, the feelings that I had, and I can become aware of it. And then I know some people are probably asking, okay, that's great. How do I use that to put into my business where I can start making more money?
Very good question.
Maybe you can start to create a shift in terms of what that might mean now in terms of their behavior, in terms of selling, marketing, all those different things. Like you say, if they're not charging their worth, anything like that, how does that transfer to the here and now and what their patterns are?
We're going to transcribe this because this is gold. This is gold. So yes. So what happens is that just imagine if you have a plate and it's full of food. But as you begin to write those letters, you're beginning to let go and take stuff away from the plate. So that means that you're making room for new things. And as you begin to make room for new things, you're going to find that you're going to attract new clients. So the attracting new clients that are ready to work with you is going to be easier because you were so busy with such a full plate that you did not see the opportunities around you. So that's one thing, right? So new opportunities are going to begin to show up not because they were always there, but now you're going to see them because you're going to get clear and you're lighter, right? You don't have as many things happening. So that's step one, because they're going to be showing up, but also other opportunities, right? Things like, people purchasing a lunch for you, taking you out to lunch, or people buying you a cup of coffee, right? All of these things are going to begin to show up. So no matter whether it's just a cup of coffee or lunch or whatever that may be, you get a refund check in the mail, whatever that is, really begin to feel so incredibly grateful for that. The amount doesn't matter. Begin to be in gratitude for everything that shows up. Because what happens is when you begin to do that is you're increasing your money container. And as you begin to increase your money container and making it larger, you're making room for more things to show up.
So there's sort of two ways to make room for things that are coming in. One is to take away some of the things from your plate, but also being in gratitude and noticing your money story and living in a place of abundance can also increase the size of the plate. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you do that, you're going to find that something inside is going to shift, right? Because up to this point, let's think about, it's a dark cloudy, whatever was around you. But when you begin to see clearly, you're going to be able to begin to really say to yourself, why am I charging this amount? And it's now the time for me to increase my price. What if you increase your price? What if you simply increase your price and see what happens, right? Let go of the fear and the attachment to the money. What if you go out and you present your offer to 5 people at the higher price? Do that. What if you increase it? Don't tell anybody. Just go out and make an offer, increase your price and see what happens. What's the worst thing that could happen if you make 5 offers to somebody? What if one person says yes at the higher price?
Yeah, I doubt the other 4 are going to come burn your house down, right?
Right? But it's about what's going to happen within you. Because when you know that you're able to get that amount of money, just something really within you is going to happen, right? Because then you're like, oh my, we're humans, right? But that is going to help you to go out and make maybe another 5 offers, right? The confidence and that is just incredibly powerful when you can be at that place.
So is that the power of taking action first and saying, you know what, this is my fear. I want to go out there and take some action. So I notice what's coming up within me. I notice the fear. I notice the doubt, the uncertainties, everything like that. I notice my story and what this means. But taking the action gives you that awareness. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And know that there's people out there. Believe that there's people out there that are ready for your services and are ready to pay you your fee, right? Because the monkey chatter is going to come up. Who do you think you are? Nobody's going to pay you. Work with it. When the monkey chatter comes up, I talk to my monkey chatter all the time. You say, thank you for the information. I choose to go, right? Because we gotta find tools. I constantly talk to the monkey chatter. And one of the best ways that I find to quiet my monkeys is to do silence, right? Once a week, for me, I do a silence for 4 hours. I don't say you should go out and but what if you start with 1 hour? What if you start with 20 minutes, right? Quiet the mind so that you're able to hear your intuition, so that you're able to hear, right? And when you begin to hear that from a much higher perspective, you're going to be able to take massive action.
Wow, totally. What are some things that come up for you in terms of your the monkey chatter, and then what are some things that come up in terms of your intuition?
I've been at it for a very, very long time. So but once upon a time, this doesn't happen now, but once upon a time, it was, well, nobody's going to pay for those gifts, right? Because when we have our gifts and they're quite natural for us, the monkeys start telling us, well, why would somebody pay for that? It comes quite naturally for you. But they're natural for me. They're not natural for other people. Right? And that's huge because they're a gift from me, but that doesn't mean that other people are not going to be willing to pay for them.
Beautiful.
Huge, right? Beautiful. Because we all have different gifts, but they're special to everybody. But that means that other people are ready and willing to pay you for that.
We can forget that sometimes. I mean, especially when we're heart-centered business owners. I mean, well, when you're heart-centered, it's very, very easy to have a lot of compassion for someone. And if we don't have a relationship with money that's truly serving us, that's truly healthy, we can pass that on to other people and say, you know what, I'll just charge less, thinking that that's doing them a service, right? But when we listen to that story and when we say exactly what you're saying, Chella, in terms of, man, there are people out there who are willing to pay, which means that's serving them. It's serving them to take the action. And I think that's huge for people who are in this space. Now, give us an understanding of what comes through when you sit in your 4-hour silent meditation. What comes through in terms of your intuition and guidance?
Well, I can tell you that when I first started doing that, my very first time, and I remember clearly, I was so tired after I did that because there was so many monkeys running in my head. I had to take a nap. Mm. That's totally being transparent and keeping it real, right? Because I was just like, I could not believe how much chatter was going on. So now here we go, 6 months, 8 months down the road now. I get brilliant ideas. They just come very clear. And sometimes it could be about a program. Sometimes it could be about an idea. Sometimes it could simply be about resolving a challenge. But it's so easy. It's just so clear how it comes in. It's magic. Yeah. Highly. So I'm hooked. So now I'm thinking, maybe I should do that twice a week. But yeah, it's just getting clarity.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. I'm a huge believer in silent meditations, just sitting there, just being in a space of feeling everything. I think it's huge. I do about 2 hours of meditation a day. And a lot of people know that I just sit in silence and just listen to that space. And it's been huge for me. And I always say it's not in everyone's expansion to do that. That's just my journey. Like you say, it's your journey of what feels expansive. But that time to just notice, that time to just be in a space of awareness of what's going on in your mind is so big, to be able to recognize your stories, right? To be able to recognize what's coming up. And so I would highly encourage anyone to try it, especially if it feels scary. If it feels scary, you have to do it. I mean, it's just that's just what I feel. But in terms of what people are feeling right now, they've got tools in terms of how to recognize that story, recognize from the conversations they've heard. They know that they can take some action to identify those stories. Is there any ways in which you would help someone really transcend or really help them with the emotional work of fear and doubt? Let's say they go to raise their prices, offer that to 5 people, and they just have this fear. What do you recommend? Do you think they should just they go for it and take action and prove themselves wrong, or is there other ways in which you can deal with the fear?
Yeah, there's nobody else can do that for you. You know, I mean, I wish there was a nice pill that we could give you, a magic wand that we had to do that. No, because you got to go through the fear, right? You got to break that barrier. But I promise you, once you do that, and it's unstoppable, right? Because you cannot unring the bell. Because once you do that, and also when you charge lower prices because you believe that the other person can't afford it, we're not helping them. We're really not, because that means that we're lowering the standards for them. We're not helping them to expand. And to me, that's what it's about. It's about helping everybody expand and about helping and growing together.
Awesome. I love that. I always thought if I'm scared to charge for my services, I'm judging my client. I'm definitely judging them. I'm placing my money stories onto them. And I used to do that. It was a big part of my journey and awakening in terms of my awareness of what I'm doing. But it's such a big lesson. It's such a huge level of awareness. And so everyone's listening can start to piece together some action steps on how they can move forward, what they can start gaining awareness for. Are there any other tips you have if they're looking to charge more, if they're looking to get in the space of more abundance with money? What else do you recommend in terms of some tools and tactics?
I say, if you're really wanting to increase the price, whatever that may be for you at this point, is one, don't play the comparison game. Just because Johnny or Susie are charging whatever, it's not about that. It's about you. It's about your service. It's about your experiences. It's about your gifts. So don't play the comparison game, because that's never going to get you anywhere, right? Even if you think, well, Johnny's charging this, I'm going to charge less. It doesn't matter. We're all very individual and we all have special gifts. So don't play the comparison game. And if you really are serious, do a test, right? Get 5 people in one room and say, this is what I'm considering offer. And get their honest feedback, right? Because that's going to tell you, don't get your friends, right? Because your friends are going to tell you what you want to hear. These are truly potential clients that you're offering some value for, but, do a beta test. To me, the beta test is the best way to go, because it's going to help them, but it's also going to help you get clarity. And maybe even get processes and systems in place that are going to help you offer the program again. Whether it's one-on-one or whether it's group, it doesn't matter. Get some feedback. But please, please, please charge for that. Even as a beta, you have got to charge. There has got to be an exchange. Even if it's not money that they're giving you, there has got to be an exchange. Otherwise, they're not going to really get what they need to get out of the program or your service.
What's your relationship with when you charge for your programs? I know you just described a little bit there, which is why I'm asking, but what's your relationship with money in terms of charging, in terms of charging a higher price and having that exchange? What's the meaning that you have for it now?
I have and I actually just increased my prices. So I'm very close to this, folks. And the reason I increased my prices because I'm working again with a phenomenal coach. I'm working with 2 coaches right now. And one of them is an Andrew. He's just like, with your gifts and how the transformation that my clients are experiencing, right? And so if they're experiencing, then they're able to go out, then I need to up level my game. Because the more they pay, the more experience. But my clients are just truly, truly amazing, and they're getting so much. So it's about the transformation that you're offering. And when I say that, you could be offering a service, right? Whether it's Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads, whatever that is, right? It's your service is going to help that person elevate their business. So it doesn't have to be necessarily in the healing, right? But if your service are helping that person elevate, that it is our duty to increase our prices in order to make that happen.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the prices aren't necessarily reflected on what you feel and what's scary for you. It's reflected on what the value is that they're receiving, right? It's reflected upon what is this transformation that they're receiving? What does that mean to them? What is that worth to them? And then if the investment for your programs or your services are reflected of that, then you can feel confident, you can feel certain that that's worth the value.
Absolutely. Right. And there's going to be times where, like, how much money will you be willing to pay for somebody that, gets rid of anxiety, gets rid of stress, right? There is really but it's the transformation, the lifestyle, and how the life has changed when they don't have, they're not going through all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of healers, right? It's not, we're not going to be able to take you from making, 100,000 to 200,000, but the life that you're going to have, that's what we need to concentrate on.
That's all worth something.
Is right? It's worth a lot when you're able to relax, and when you know that you have more joy in your life, and you're able to take care of your family, spend more time with your family because you increased your prices, right? That is huge. That's a huge transformation. And we
Yeah.
got to stick to that. We got to remember the transformation when you go to increase your price or when you go to charge. But I love the way you said it, Tyson. When you said you were judging the customer with your price, right? It was, but the awareness, right? But because the monkeys, whatever that fear came in and popped in, but you still were able to, we have to power through it, folks. There's no easy way to go about it. But the beautiful thing is that once you get beyond that, the second time and the next time, it gets so much easier.
Yeah, I feel that.
But we
I
got to go
definitely
up the
feel that.
hill. We got to go up the hill with a backpack full of rocks in order for us. I hate to say it, and I'm not saying it's physically painful, but it feels like it is when the fear is so strong.
Yeah. Oh, it feels like death. It feels like, because it's so much, it's such death to the stories of who we thought we were, who we think we are is this type of person who makes a certain amount of money, who, who charges a certain amount. And to shift that up, you have to let go of so many stories and so many different sides of us. Right. And in order to move forward, I think it's super important to just remember the intent behind it. If you're going up the hill and you've got that backpack full of rocks, you have to know that you're doing it for a certain reason. You're doing it because you're ready to serve at a different level. You have this calling, you have this mission, you have this dharma that you're executing, right? And so being able to take each step with that intent, with that reminder of why you're doing it is super key as well. And I know everyone listening will probably be thinking this as well. How about you give us some insight in terms of your clients and the transformations that you've seen within the work that you've been able to do, and what allows for those sort of shifts?
Well, for one, I have one of my recent clients. She was charging for a 3-month program $750. After one session with me, we increased the price to $29.97. Right, huge. Well, and I don't do it. The person has to be ready to make it happen, right? Another person that was charging $3,500, and now it's pretty awesome what she's going to go out and do. But let's just say that her new fee is going to be over $50,000.
Mm.
Because it's a different project. It's definitely a different project. So we'll say that before she charged $10,000 and now she's going to charge $50,000.
Wow.
Right? Because you let go of the stories.
Yeah.
And the other thing, another tip I'm going to say is, now that you're ready to invite money in, send a love letter to money, inviting it into your home, inviting it into your house, inviting it into your car. Let the money know. Treat money as if you're in a relationship with, right? And just write a letter welcoming in. It's been a long time, but now I'm ready to have you back in my life.
Mm.
You'll be surprised. I want to hear from some of you that write a letter, right? Because it's a process, and it's the intention, right? It's the intention that you're putting out there, just showing that you're ready.
Yeah. I think that's a huge question. What is your relationship with money? If it was a physical person and you had the same relationship, what would that be like? Because some people are like, oh my God, I need more of it. And then when I have it, I'm like, that's not enough. Right. And then when they go to charge it, they're like, no, there's just not enough to go around, whatever it may be. Could you imagine if people were saying that to you? Like, you have to be in my life. And then when you come into my life, I'm going to tell you you're not enough. Right. The relationship's over. Like, I'm out of here. Right. I am out of here. And
that is gold. So start thinking about money as if you're in a relationship, and begin to talk to it. Just like you talk to your monkey chatter, or I do, highly recommend it. And talk to money, right? Appreciate money. So when you go ready to pay or you invest in whatever you need to do for your monthly obligations, be grateful that you have the funds in order to meet your obligations, right? I am grateful that I have the funds to meet these obligations. Instead of, oh, I have to pay this. There is no have to pay, right? It's a choice.
Yes.
But if you're grateful that you have the funds to meet these obligations, it's a game changer. Game changer.
What do you think it is about people's relationship to paying bills that is so, it's just so toxic? It's like, because like you said, you have the funds where you're able to pay for this. Why do you think people hate paying bills?
That's a really great question. Well, I think it goes back to our childhood, right? What we learned. It was what the adults in the house made it out to be to pay bills. If their parents made it out, or the adults made it out to be a chore, that's something that we carried on with us. That's something that we borrowed. Right? So it's, again, we go back to those stories. If the parents were, stressing out and having to pay the bills, that's not us. It's not something that it's a belief that we borrowed, and it's time to give it back.
Wow. Yeah, because I had a client one time who truly just hated paying bills, which is a lot of people. And I asked her, okay, let's say you don't have to pay your bills anymore. And because it's a choice, like you said, it's a choice. Okay, you choose not to. And then the gas company, the electric company, the water company, all shut off your utilities, and now you don't have to pay it. Like, would that be better? And they looked at me, they're like, well, of course not. I'm like, what would happen if they did that? What would happen if right now they shut off your utilities in your house, and they said, yeah, we're gonna turn this off, and you have to pay this now. She'd be like, man, I'd happy to pay it. I'm happy to pay it. I'm like, are you really? Because a moment ago you weren't, right? Now you are. And even just the internet, like if we were to cut off your internet, like people would freak out and they'd be like, let me pay it. Let me pay this bill. I want to pay this bill because now that it's gone, I recognize what it does for me, right? And now I asked her, I said, what if they cut it off and you said, oh, I'll pay the bill, and they're like, nah, I don't think we want your money anymore. What would you do? And she's like, I would ask them how much. I'd pay more. And she would be happy to pay more. And when we start to think of it this way, we can start to realize that what we're actually paying for when we pay bills is magical. We don't know how the hell the plumbing works to give us fresh water or the electricity. We have no clue how any of that works, but yet it is magic that offers so much value in our life. And when we pay those bills, why isn't that coming across, right? Why isn't that coming across? What do you have to say about that topic?
No, I could not have framed that better myself, right? But also it goes to, right, think about what the conversation was that the parents have. And then also when you get ready to go make those checks or however you're paying, internet, whatever that is for you, is what if you spend just 5 minutes prior to doing that, even before you start doing any of the paperwork, and get into the space of how grateful you are that you have the funds to meet those obligations, right? The energy that you're sending it out. Thank you. You can even make little notes, whatever it is, but just being right before you do that. But also take that as well as when before you get ready to get on the call with a potential client, and just be open. Don't think about, oh, they're going to sign up with me, but be open that conversation is going to be in the best and highest use for all. It may not be a fit. It could be a fit, but when you detach, right? When you detach from the outcome, that's when the magic begins to happen, because then you're not going to be frustrated, right? If you say, I'm open to whatever the universe has to say, or God, whoever you believe in, when you're open to receiving, it doesn't matter. And that's when the magic begins to happen. So just right before you get out to pay your obligations, what if you just spend a couple of minutes just being grateful? Put them out in the table, on the floor, on your bed. It doesn't matter, right? Just look at them and be grateful that you have the funds to meet them.
Yeah.
Magic.
Shift in energy, complete shift in energy, going from scarcity, if I don't want to pay this, to I'm grateful to pay for this, is massive. It's such a big shift. And I think what you were describing for comes from, it's more than a belief. It's like a knowing. It's like, if I know I live in an abundant world and I know that it's coming to me in not only in abundance, but in effect, in alignment with how it's meant to, then that knowing comes across in your voice. It comes across in your demeanor, your energy, your vibration. And if you're on a sales call and you have that energy of, I'm open to all situations, but I'm here to serve whatever's in everyone's highest good, people can feel that, right? Is that what you find?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the energy, right? It's just that you want to be of service first. You want to get paid, but you want to be of service first. Is this person a fit for you? But that's the other thing that's going to happen as you begin to really sit with this, is that you're going to say no to the clients that are not a fit, because not everybody's a fit. So don't think about, oh, I have to take the client because I need to pay my obligations. But if they're not a fit, it's really going to create a lot more chaos in your life.
Yeah, I found that especially when I was launching my beta course about 6 weeks ago, I got on about 27, I think it was 29 phone calls to fill the 12 spots. And not only did I sit down before every call and just have a silent blessing to be in a space of service, but that led to me sometimes not offering it. I'm like, I don't think this is for you. I don't think this is a good fit for your expansion or where you're at, all those different things. And I think there was about 5 or 6 calls where I didn't offer the program. And it was a completely different thing for me, because I now know, I'm like, it's not my job to get them to say yes, right? It's my job to serve so that everyone's in their highest good. And it's just a different energy, and it feels more authentic. It feels more of who I am, rather than, oh my God, I got to get this person to say yes. It's like, no, I'm here to serve. I'm here for good. I'm here to detach. And that was a very, very expansive shift for me. What other bits of advice would you give someone who is on a sales call, who is starting to organize calls and who is starting to sell over the phone?
Interview, right? Have some questions, right? Even before you hop on those calls, have them complete like 3-5 questions, because that's going to tell you, right? Because time is very precious. And if you're able to identify this person is not a fit, you can still hop on the call, but instead of spending 20 minutes with them, maybe you can just spend 10 minutes with them and say, listen, based on the questions that you answered, at this point, I just don't believe we're a fit, right? So you were able to make more calls, but in shorter frame. Mm-hmm. Pre-qualify. You have got to pre-qualify, right? Because your time is very precious.
Awesome. Yeah. If you're on a 45-minute call and at the start, some people can generally tell at the start, like, this isn't the right fit. But they go through it anyway. And it's not doing you favors, not doing them favors. There's other people that are a right fit that you could be serving in that time.
What was I was going to say when that comes, when you know they're not a fit, one, you're saving time, right? Make it a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation. You're saving yourself 30 minutes, but also give something of value. If you have a book or a resource or a podcast or something that you know is going to be helpful to them, that give them as a gift, right? Just share something so that it's not just, they're not ready for you, but maybe this resource is going to help them become ready. So I always like, have a list of maybe 5 things. No, don't give all of them 5, because then the people are going to get overwhelmed. They're not going to do anything. But there's so many books that I really recommend, right? Books, I have podcasts that I recommend. Depends on what the person needs. It depends on where they are in their journey.
Yeah.
Maybe possibly a networking event that you can bring them to, right? Be of service, give them something so to help them get ready. And even if they don't hire you down the line, get them ready so they can elevate themselves.
Yeah, that's huge. I can put myself in the shoes of everyone listening and being like, man, I'm ready to go out and do something different. I'm ready to just shift. I'm ready to be aware of my stories, be aware of my emotions that are coming up, and obviously just go through that journey of doing what's scary but expansive. That's so key. I'm looking forward to seeing who writes the letters. First of all, I'm going to write a letter for sure. I've already got my pen and paper out here. I'm just going to do it after this interview and just be and just start journaling and start writing down my letter to money, and release some things. But this has been crazy awesome. Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything that will put the cherry on the top of what we've been covered so far?
I would say write a letter to compassion. Have compassion for yourself, because whatever money mistakes you made in the past, you did the best that you could based on where you were at the moment, right? Because sometimes we carry all these things about why did I shoulda, shouldn't have, shoulda. Have compassion, right? We all make mistakes. Have compassion, let them go, write a letter, right? So yes, I'm a huge letter writer.
I can tell.
Because, it happened, but don't bring it into, that was a yesterday, don't bring it into today. Huge.
Yeah. Like you said, we not, especially what you said earlier in the interview, in terms of we're all also learning the lessons we're meant to learn. We're learning these lessons along the way, and it's just a matter of us to recognize that we wouldn't be the kinds of people we are right now, have evolved the way we have in terms of our personal and spiritual journey, if we hadn't learned the lessons that were here. And so having compassion for what's been in the past and having deep awareness on how that's helped you evolve and become more aware is, I find that's a huge piece of people's awakening and their transition into more abundance. So is there anything else that you want to add in terms of any advice, tools, tactics for people who are moving from, a relationship with money that isn't serving them into a relationship that is serving them?
Identify, become aware, and take action. It doesn't have to be massive action, but you have got to start taking steps towards, your next level.
Yeah.
Magic.
Beautiful. Where can people find out more about you and find out more about your magic?
Chella Diaz, ChellaDiaz.com is my website, or Chella, Chella Facebook. Those are the two best places you can find me.
Beautiful. So they can go in there, find out all about you. Do you have anything going on right now in terms of any particular books, challenges, groups, anything like that?
Nah, I'm actually really wanting to produce more videos to put on my business page to help.
Yeah.
Just tips. But no, so definitely, I definitely have my marketing plan put together, and I'm going to be doing videos and tips. I definitely want to empower and give you as many tips as possible to help you in your journey.
I can imagine everyone listening to this they've already got some keys here. Putting more tips on top of the action that you're taking because of listening to this is going to be a world of good. It's just ever evolving, next step after next step, until you start taking the elevator. That's where everyone wants to get to. But Chella, thanks so much for this. I knew this was going to be insightful. I knew it was going to be valuable. I just want to thank you so much for your time.
It's been my pleasure. I'm so glad we did this.